My name is Randy Bigley. Joining me on the podcast right now is Joshua Lehman, Director of Development for Junior Achievement.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, you're welcome. Junior Achievement's been around for a long time, and but I don't think a lot of people know exactly what Junior Achievement is all about. What is Junior Achievement?
You're exactly right, Randy. And so many people don't know JA has been around for over 100 years as an organization. And here in kind of the central northeast Ohio area, we've been around since the 40s and 50s in different counties throughout the region. And everyone knew JA years ago as the organization focused on entrepreneurship. And we started based on students building their own business. And they would start from scratch, work with volunteers, and build a business. And today we still have that program called Company Program, but in the 70s, we went from that out-of-school program to in-school programming. We grew the number of students we reach every year exponentially, and we expanded our program offerings to focus on entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and career readiness. So what is a budget? What's the importance of savings? What's the value of entrepreneurship in our community, and how can I be an entrepreneur if I want to be one? Or how can I take that mindset of innovation and entrepreneurial mindset into whatever career I want, but also what are the career pathways available? Because as students and as young people, you're going to get stuck in that sphere of influence. And so having the ability to understand what opportunities exist in the community outside of your sphere of influence of what your parents may do, or your guardians may do, or the people you know in that small little group that you get to know on a daily basis. That's what we do as an organization. We help to provide programming kindergarten through 12th grade to students through volunteers, and we work in a lot of schools all over North Central Ohio in the chapter that I'm a part of.
How big is your chapter? You said North Central Ohio. What does that cover pretty much?
So North Central Ohio is a 16-county chapter, and so we go from Crawford County all the way over to Stark, Summit, and Portage, all the way out west to Marion, Morrow, and Wyandotte County. And I essentially say we're everything in between Cleveland and Columbus, west of Youngstown, and halfway across the state. So it's a big footprint, but we serve about 30,000 students every single school year with our programming in that 16-county footprint.
You say from elementary all the way up to high school, right?
It is, yeah. So we have K through 12 programming, and every single program is designed to meet, the Ohio Department of Education standards, used to be called Common Core, for the social studies aspect of that grade. So obviously the conversation is very different for a kindergarten student than it is a high school student. But it's really focused early on about what are needs and wants, and how do families come together to build communities, and then how do we have people like entrepreneurs that build businesses and communities so that families can have jobs and earn money to be able to buy the things they need and want. And it just builds on that. And by the time you get to high school, we have programs like Company Program, where students are from the ground up building a business, or our career exploration programming called J Inspire, where students are really getting a chance to learn about career pathways, why career planning is important, figure out what their skills and interests are, and start building career plans. So across the board, we have all kinds of programming that really helps these students to be prepared and empowered to own their success in the future, whatever that means to them and their families.
What kind of businesses can they do through Junior Achievement?
Oh goodness, so anything and everything under the sun. Many years ago, a lot of the businesses that were being built by JA Company students were manufacturing based, and that still happens a lot. And I feel like a lot of the alumni or people who knew JA years ago know of the hangers or the baking sheets. But today, oh my goodness, it's anything. I mean, it could be a service or it could be a business. We actually, from our area, had the national champions of the JA Company Program competition last year. And they created a board game. And they found this manufacturer helped build a board game that is essentially, I would describe it almost like Monopoly meets Game of Life, and throw in a little bit of financial literacy in the mix, because it's helping people who play the game really design towards a target market of younger students, younger families that have young children at home, to understand some basic financial literacy concepts about how to go through life, and you're going to have expenses in life, and you need to pay off those expenses, and you need to think about saving for the future. But they do it in a really cool, fun, interactive game that you don't actually realize you're learning until you look at it after the fact.
You're able to market that too?
They do. And today, when you think about years ago when this was, now we have the internet, and students are putting this stuff online, and they're selling it across the country. So it's a really cool program that we have from the entrepreneurship space of what we do.
So what do you do, like younger, like kindergartens, example, what would they do in Junior Achievement?
Of course. So all of our programs are designed to be hands-on and experiential. So it's not a lecture, but it's an interaction with the students. We find volunteers in the community to come in and teach these programs. And the reason we find volunteers to do that is because they get to share their story. Your background is different than my background, and when you come in, you can talk about what you do, why you love your career, but you can take some of your life experiences and interject that into the curriculum that is already designed and very easy to deliver. But this hands-on curriculum, it's playing games, it's activities. So at a kindergarten and first grade level, they're putting together picture books where they're talking about what a community is like, and they're reading stories, so there's a little bit of a literacy concept to it. They're working on little problems with math that might relate to, I have this job, and we pass out job cards to students, and they get to talk about, well, you can make this much money at this job, and you're going to buy lunch, and you're going to buy a car or find transportation to work, and you're going to be able to buy housing. So that's more of a middle school program, but with those you're doing some math-based concepts. So it's all across the board, but there's games and activities as well that we have built into some of the more elementary-based programs where students play board games that help them understand some of these concepts we've talked about.
Wow, that's pretty neat stuff. And do you ever have people that went on from junior achievements, students that went on to be very successful in businesses, right?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Many people don't know that, but I mean, one of the most popular alumni of JA program that I would say is probably Mark Cuban. I mean, people know Mark Cuban from
Sure.
Shark Tank, right? So, but what's crazy about that, and I'm a numbers guy, so I can share this, and I get really excited about it, but we've actually found through national studies that JA alumni are 143% more likely than the general population to start their own business.
Wow.
We find from that kind of career and work readiness standpoint that 1 in 3 alumni of JA programming will actually credit their experience in junior achievement with helping them decide what they wanted to be when they grow up.
That's
so
fantastic.
There's a lot of really cool impact-based things that our programming does, and I don't think that the volunteers that even teach the programming today realize the impact that they can have on some of these students' lives.
So you have volunteers from maybe entrepreneurs themselves that volunteer, right?
We do. We get entrepreneurs themselves. We find local community partners, whether that may be Timken or GE or any number of organizations, Gorman Rupp, all the way to a lot of banks and other organizations participate in our programming because they love to give back, and they, from the financial literacy standpoint, really want to be able to help these students understand the importance of being able to save for their future and build good, strong, solid foundations for their families.
So were you formerly in junior achievement yourself?
I was not, unfortunately.
Really? See, I wasn't either, unfortunately.
Yep. Before I started, I never knew the JA existed.
Yeah.
Which I think is really a sad thing in a way, because I never knew it existed, but as I came into the JA world, I started talking to people. I found out my father was in JA when he was in school. I talked to friends who their families have been in JA in school. But my favorite part of my job is meeting alumni of the programming, because then you can really see what that has meant to them.
Sure.
I've met people who are entrepreneurs today that will credit their experience with JA for why they started their business. I met a woman when I very first started in this career and working at Junior Achievement, who told me that she was in JA back in 1945 here in Northeast Ohio.
Really? Wow.
She was in that company program at the time where they were building a business, and from there she went on and said, went home and said to her parents, I love this, I want to start my own business one day, can you help me go to school? And they weren't able to help her to do that. So she said, I did some research and I found out I could go all the way up to California, and there was a place I could get my education. It was the cheapest place I was going to go at the time. Don't know how that worked out, but it was. I guess back then it was a little different. And so she went all the way out to California. She was working at a placement agency out in California, put herself through school, came back here to Ohio, started her own placement agency here in Ohio, where she was placing medical professionals across the region, had over 200 people working for her at one point, went back and got her master's degree while building this business, where she met her husband getting her master's degree, and then when retired said, I loved education so much at that point I went back and just got a third degree because I wanted to.
That's awesome.
And at the end of that conversation told me her experience in JA is what pushed her down that road. And I'll guarantee you, the people that were funding that programming back then, and the people who were volunteering to teach that programming back in the 1940s, had no clue the impact they were going to have on a young girl's life.
That's you probably hear like great stories like that all the time.
We do. We do.
That's really cool, because sometimes when you're in school, especially in high school, you don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Exactly. It's a hard thing to figure out.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different ways you can go, but this kind of junior achievement kind of helps direct you in that, and then maybe opening up an area you didn't know that you liked, right?
Yep. Exactly. I describe JA in 2 words as perspective and opportunity, because it's about helping these students gain a perspective they may not otherwise have the opportunity to experience. And that's what all of our programming is about. That's what our focus is, because at the end of the day, we want students to be able to have the tools and the resources they need to be successful in life, because everybody has a different situation in life, and we want to help make sure that everyone has the opportunity to learn about careers and career opportunities. We hear that all the time. We talk about that a lot, where a lot of students are pushed to go to college, but you don't need to go to college. Maybe college is right for you. Maybe that career path is where you need to go. But there are a ridiculous amount of opportunities that have unbelievable career opportunities and just family stability out of amazing just jobs here in our communities that a lot of students don't even know exist. And when we put those up on our big career fair that we do, we have this big virtual career fair that's going on right now that has 7,500 students from across just North Central Ohio participating. Those students get to learn about careers that they may never otherwise know about.
Sure. Yeah, unfortunately, you know, nothing against colleges, but a lot of times you're told you have to go to college to be successful. You don't, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that never went to college.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's not for everybody. College isn't for everybody. It doesn't mean you're not going to be successful.
Exactly. You can have amazing careers in any industry, really, without a degree. And it's amazing to see that as I sit down and I talk with businesses and, you know, I learn about these apprenticeships and internships, and you have an opportunity to work somewhere and they will pay you to go to school if you need to go to school. That company will pay you to go to school. I mean, I say that again because it's something that I've heard college admissions people, and I've heard different companies say, if you're paying to go to school sometimes, you're just not doing it right, because there's opportunities out there for these organizations to help you go on to get your education, whatever that may mean. And all too often, you don't even necessarily need that. You can go into a great career right here in your own backyard that you may not even know exists, and you may not understand that it's not just a career that you may think of. We see that all too often where I think that you, as in any individual, they see a company or an organization, and whatever is the most prominent opportunity or career at that company, that's what you have that as your frame of reference. You go to a bank, you see a teller, but there's so many opportunities to work at a bank. You go into, you know, any company, manufacturing or whatever it may be, you might think of the person working on the line, but you might not realize that maybe there is a robotics division. Maybe there is a quality assurance division that you're going to be more on the testing side of things. There's people that work in the office. There may be, I talk about that with people in the agriculture industry. They have needs for people to fly drones because they use drones in agriculture and environmental sciences. So there's a lot of opportunities that I think that students don't realize exist in some of these career paths.
Radio, you think of people, just on-air people on there. We got all kinds of people behind the scenes.
100%.
You work with Claudia, she's in sales, so she's an example of what's behind the scenes. There's a lot of opportunities everywhere. You just see that, you know, you just think of that one person you see, right? But don't realize behind the scenes there's a lot more going on.
Exactly.
If someone is interested in volunteering with Junior Achievement, how can they do that? If you're an entrepreneur saying, you know, I'd like to help out, I'd like to work with Junior Achievement, how can they do that?
Of course. So they can go onto our website, which is www.jaofnco.ja.org. I know it's a little bit long. So as in Junior Achievement of North Central Ohio, so it's jaofnco.ja.org. And on our website, there's a whole list of our staff. You can reach out to us. You can also just call our main office line at 330-433-0063. And get a hold of anybody, and we'll be happy to connect you with the program team wherever you live or wherever you're interested in volunteering, because there is a whole team at Junior Achievement that helps to deliver these programs across our 16-county footprint, and we have needs all across our communities. I mean, that's the challenge. We never have enough volunteers. Every year we go through and we have programs we cannot fill because we don't have enough volunteers or we do not have enough funding to fund and volunteer these programs.
Maybe listen to this, you're going to have some volunteers, they'll step right up.
I hope so. And I think at the end of the day, I always tell people when I'm talking to them about when you're considering getting involved in the community, it's all about finding a nonprofit that you connect with and you have a passion for. Because there are a million nonprofits out there. They all have an amazing cause. They all need help, whether it's funding or volunteering. And so getting a chance to go in and volunteer for that nonprofit, you get a chance to experience the mission, and from there decide if it's a good fit for you. And all of our volunteer opportunities are designed to be very, very simple, easy. We have things from a very low time commitment to very highly involved volunteer opportunities. So there's a lot of ways you could get involved with Junior Achievement that would be able to fit your schedule and help you to understand if this is an organization that you would like to be a part of.
Wow. Hey, thanks for coming in with us today. We're going to have you in again here in a few months. We're going to talk about some other things going on with Junior Achievement. But thank you so much for coming in, Josh.
That sounds great, Randy. Thank you.